how's it going? It's the Fuzz! I got something special for us today. It's going to be a balance patch. The Fuzz edition. Okay, it's not a real balance patch. It's just, I've made up a few cards to kind of show what I would like to do with some of the problem cards we have currently. So what I'm going to show you is a group of cards I made using the custom cards generator, which I would like to see as potential, adjustments to existing cards, perhaps, as you see the one here with a basic Despina. The only card I didn't put on the list is Chicken, but with the change I have to New Horizons, I think all you really have to do with Chicken is just make it legendary, so that you can't play like 4 1-drops with 4 attack and Swift. One of those things is fine, but 4, probably too much. Just legendary Chicken and we're good. So, let's just kick it off with basic Despina. So, she's been kind of a problem. Her ability just, it just invites brokenness. So, I decided to make her a little bit more basic. So, it's a 0 mana 2 cooldown ability, supercharge, give a creature 4 speed this turn, and at the end of turn, shock it. So, you can either bump up your own creature to maybe get a good trade to hit face, but then it gets shocked, or you could shock your opponent's creature. You give it 4 speed, and then it's shocked, so it skips a turn. So, I think it's a nice, flexible, versatile power. I'm not sure if 0 mana is appropriate. Maybe it should cost 1 mana. But basically, this is what I want basic Despina to be. A simple, decent, useful ability. Like, there's no broken combos with this, right? And I think it would fit. We've got basic Nefaros who reduces speed of creatures. Why not have somebody that increases the speed of creatures? That also doubles as a kind of a free shock. So, yeah, this probably should be 1 mana, now that I think about it. But that's fine. Just make it 1 mana, whatever, and you've got a pretty decent hero power that I think people would learn to live with. Yeah, I think this would be pretty cool. Anyways, moving on to the next card, we got a Cruel Tech's favorite, the Burning Rage. I decided to bring it back a little bit, kind of to what it was originally, maybe a little bit weaker. So this one, you have to have 2 aspects instead of 1. It still gives you 1 rage aspect. The reason I made it 2 aspects is because the problem with the old Burning Rage was that you could play it on turn 2 just like New Horizons, and it was basically a New Horizons because it ramped you immediately, but it also offered card draw. So with this one, if you want to run it, it's legendary, by the way, no having multiples of this, you have to commit to rage. And now, whenever you play any spell, you draw a card, and then Burning Rage gains 1 energy, and then at the end of your turn, you discard a card, no matter what. Once Burning Rage has 5 energy, it's destroyed and you take 5 damage. So the idea is, the more spells you play, the more powerful it gets, but if you don't keep playing spells, you're gonna have to keep discarding cards until you eventually detonate it. But when you detonate it, you take 5 damage. Or you play a new Burning Rage. Basically, that's the idea. So, it still provides you with card draw, but you do have to discard at the end of turn, so you are going to lose some cards as well. I was trying to balance it out. Give it a better drawback. Like a real drawback, so that you're going to have something bad happen regardless. So, you can't just hold on to Burning Rage and, do nothing, because you're going to keep discarding cards every turn until you blow this up, right? So, maybe it needs a tweak on how much energy it should take to blow it up. Maybe you should only need 4 energy to blow it up instead of 5, so you only get 4 draws. Yeah, maybe. Something like that. I'm sure a little bit of testing would be necessary to find the right amount. But this is basically what I want to see Burning Rage to be. It's definitely weaker than the previous version, but it's still a powerful ramp spell that gives you some cards, but it's not as powerful as the old Burning Rage, the one where you could just keep 4 cards or less, and there was no downside. And you could have several Burning Rages, which were ramping you for free, and anytime you played a spell, you just refilled your entire hand. With this one, it's legendary, and there's a serious drawback. There's actually 2 drawbacks. you have to discard a card, and eventually you might have to take 5 damage or play a new Burning Rage. But the main thing is that you're gonna have to keep discarding cards. Anyways, moving on to the next card. Caclysm. So I've decided to scale this back a little bit. Very simple. Your opponent selects one creature and you destroy all the others. So it's back to 4 mana, but it's no longer a all-in-one, you know, perfect, you know, escape, hatch, freebie clear. Okay, this was a really convoluted way of saying it's no longer a perfect answer to any board. Now, even though it costs less, your opponent is going to get to keep one creature always, and that could be a problem. If your opponent plays one threatening creature, Caclysm does nothing. So that means you can no longer rely on it to bail you out. It's going to be especially bad against decks that run things like Gomer and Namir, because one of those is going to stick. And if they're running Hermelian as well, it's not going to save you at all. So I think I want to keep Caclysm as a destroy a lot of stuff spell, but I wanted to give it a real drawback. So this one means that you basically need other kinds of removal to supplement it, and your opponent is always going to have creatures left over. So as long as they don't overfill the board, Caclysm is going to be decent value, but it's not going to be like completely impossible to play around. You can play around it by just playing like a good creature and maybe like one weaker creature, and then if they Caclysm, you just lose one weaker creature. So there is some counterplay to it, and that's what I like about this new version. I made it 4 mana because it is quite a nerf, and I don't want to just nerf it. I wanted to make it a little bit more interesting. We'll see. I don't know if this is too good at 4 mana, but I think it's worth trying out. Moving on, we got Earthquake. So all I did with Earthquake is I just rebalanced the damage. It does, the original version does 3 damage plus 1 for each of your nature levels. I made it 2 plus double your nature level. So if you invest heavily into nature, it's gonna be a potentially very powerful board clear, which is what I wanted to do. I wanted to give you a reason to go nature. If you just play one aspect, it's only gonna distribute like 4 damage. It's like, whatever, right? But if you have 3 aspects, 3 nature aspects, it's gonna distribute 8 damage. That's more like it. It hits both sides. You know, if you want to keep a board, you gotta have non-flyers. Maybe some support for that fairy deck. I don't know. But what I know is the current version of Earthquake is not nearly powerful enough to make you want to go single nature. And this one, I think, helps out a little bit. Moving on. Landslide! Now we're bringing back the power with this one. Double nature and 4 mana. And the effect returns the entire board back to the owner's hand. Everything on the board is bounced right back. So this is basically a Caclysm Nature Edition. Except it doesn't actually destroy anything. So that's different. So this is the card which I think fits perfectly in Nature. They've got a lot of the bounce shenanigans. So what's better for a board clear than a card that bounces everything back, including your stuff? It has to be your stuff too, or it would probably be totally busted if you could just wipe their entire board instantly with one card. But no, your board is bounced as well. So I think this version of Landslide would probably see play, because if you're behind on the board, you just drop a Landslide, you have a chance to recover. I think it's interesting. I think this version is much more interesting than the one we have, but it's less broken than the old Landslide, where you can just cherry pick any 2 things, put them back in their deck instead of in their hand, so they lost card advantage as well. I think this Landslide is powerful but fair, and that's what I want the Spellweaver cards to be. Moving right along, we've got the newer Horizons. So I have a big beef with New Horizons, so I thought, how can I make New Horizons not like overpowered, but also not trash? So this one is 1 mana. You put a card from your hand on the bottom of your deck, and then you draw 2 basic shrines. So basically trade this card and another card from your hand, and you get 2 shrines. So you can still use it to fix your mana. If you're playing like a rainbow deck, you could easily use this card to just get whatever levels you want without losing card advantage. But most importantly, you no longer can use it to ramp. You could just play it just to get more shrines in the hand. If you have a hand with just one shrine, but you get New Horizons, maybe you can keep it because you can just get more shrines. And if you don't need to color fix, just redraw the shrines. No big deal. The card you send back goes to the bottom of your deck anyway, so you're going to get it back. I think this is a much more fair version of Horizons. That's not obviously an auto-include in like every control deck or anything like that. I wonder if it encourages people to run less shrines because you can kind of fish them out. But that's a problem for the future. I mean, it's not like I had a chance to play test any of these cards, so it's entirely possible I missed something. But I don't think so with this one. And it solves my biggest issue with ramping. And it also makes Chicken less ridiculous because you can't as easily get the high number of aspects as you can now. So there's that one. This one. This is a new card that I invented that I think should just exist. Polymorph. Transform a creature into a drone. Now a drone, if you don't know, is the 1/1 artifact creature thing. It's just a 1/1. It has an effect, but for the effect to take place, it has to go in the graveyard. And because this is a transform effect, the creature will be transformed back. So there'll be no effect. It basically might as well read transform a creature into a 1/1. But hey, if you are playing an artifact creature deck, it can actually do something for you because you could maybe combo it with Renovation Facility. But more realistically, you use it for the purpose that I intended. Hard removal. Oh my god, hard removal for Wisdom. What madness is this? So yeah, that's just all I wanted. And I want it to be flavorful as well. And, you know, transforming stuff into drones seems like something Wisdom would do. So there you have it. Polymorph. Moving on, we've got no, come on. One card didn't load. I'll get back to it in a second. Snowstorm. 2 mana, double Wisdom, freeze all creatures. Simple. The reason I wanted to freeze all creatures is because you already have a lot of ways to take advantage of freezing with Power Discharge, Flash Freeze, even the hero power of Advanced Darius. Well, now you've got an enabler. Now, by itself, it doesn't necessarily do anything, right? Because it just freezes creatures. But until you actually combo it with something, it's not going to do anything. The current Snowstorm is just kind of overpriced, and it's not good enough as removal. So, here is Snowstorm as an enabler for all the freezing. Let's give him some more removal. I deliberately kept it at double Wisdom because I don't think it should be splashable. Because Rage could just splash this, and this makes like Fire Blast ridiculous. It also makes Advanced Zash be able to clear everything. But if you want to splash it, you gotta put in double Wisdom. That's how it is. So there's Snowstorm. Spoils of War. So I've decided to scale it up a little bit. It's now 4 mana and 3 aspects. But if you get the effect where 3 or more creatures have died, you draw 3 cards, gain 6 life, and bring a creature from the graveyard back on the field. So you get way more value. Now, the funny thing is, this might not even be good enough because it's actually not that easy to arrange, but I wanted the card to have a powerful effect where if you do actually get it to go, you get a big benefit. So you get 3 cards, a bunch of life, and a free resurrection on the board. So it's probably really good value if you can get it to work. And that was the idea. The current Spoils of War is just not good enough for the work you have to put in. So I wanted to give it more value, but make it cost a little more. But again, this card might actually be bad. It's possible that this card is actually still not good enough, even though you get so much more value. But I think it's closer to a card that you might consider playing as just a big value bomb. Because if you resurrect something like Bezarok with this, that's pretty good, right? That's a lot of value you're getting. So, yeah, I think that'd be pretty neat. That might be too much resurrection in Corruption already, since you have Reanimate and you have Eternal Servitude. But I don't know what other effect you might have. And I made it splashable because maybe other decks could run it. Why not? Maybe Wisdom Dominion switches to Corruption and they throw in a Spoils of War after, you know, they play a Caclysm. I don't know if you're going to have enough mana, but you play a Caclysm, kill a bunch of creatures, play Spoils of War, draw some cards, gain some life, and get a Resurrection effect. Oh yeah, now that's power. So, I don't actually know if it's too good or if it's too bad. But it's the kind of card you'd really have to try to make it work. But it's at least the kind of card you can look at and say, man, I want to try to make this work, versus the previous Spoils of War. It's just draw 3 cards, really. Or you could summon 3 Enchained Souls, but let's not kid ourselves. You're drawing 3 cards. With this, the extra Reanimate effect, along with 6 life, might just be enough to make you think, well, maybe there is something to it. The last card, actually, it apparently didn't load properly, so give me a moment while I pull it up again. Alright, here we go. Scatador's Bidding. For some reason, it didn't save. But anyways, here we go. So, a complete redesign. I feel like the current Scatador's Bidding is way too boring. And it just promotes lazy gameplay where you just sit back and heal. Or you just put your opponent on the doom clock and now they have a couple turns before they die. That's not much fun at all. This version, I suppose I should put down, it's a curse, obviously. And yeah, it's gonna be legendary, obviously. So, it starts with 1 energy. Whenever you play a card, it gets another energy. And whenever your opponent plays a card, this loses energy. And at the end of your turn, you summon an XX elemental that's power and toughness equal to the energy. So, the idea with this card is that once you play it, it becomes like this tug of war between you and your opponent, where you're trying to play more cards to get a bigger elemental. And they're trying to play cards back to like reduce the elemental so that you aren't summoning like 7/7s every turn. So I think that's much more interesting, and it creates a different kind of gameplay, different dynamic on the board, where you suddenly have a different plan of just trying to play more cards to get a bigger elemental, and your opponent has to play cards back, otherwise these elementals are gonna get way out of control. So I think this is a much more fun epic level spell here. Let's give it the epic subtype. There is that blue little sun symbol. There you go. It's an epic card now. So this is what I want to see more of in Spellweaver. Less of these passive effects like the current Scatador's Bidding, which is just terribly boring, really, and kind of depressing to play against, to be honest. So this is the new Scatador's Bidding. So yeah, that's it for all the cards I had. There's a lot more cards that probably could be fixed and made better, but here I just decided to make a list of these ones. So I hope you enjoyed them. Let me know what other cards you would like to redesign. Just put them in the thread where this video is. And yeah, let's see if we can let's see if we can design up something really awesome, because we have a lot of cards in the game that aren't being used and there's no reason for that. So I want to see what you come up with. And of course, you can use the random, the card generator like I am using. The same one we use for the custom card contests. You could almost consider this the new card contest, where take an existing card and make it better. Make it fit the game better. Make it do something awesome. Now, I didn't use card art because I'm lazy. But hey, doesn't mean you have to be. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed. Comments are all welcome. Cruel Tech, I want to get your opinion on this new Burning Rage. Is it good enough to bring back Rage, or is it still absolute trash? Or is it overpowered? I don't know. But it's worth a look. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.